All right, so the first thing I want to talk about this week is empathy. And what do I mean by empathy? What I mean by empathy is we're talking about how we can understand other people's feelings. It is one of those things that is really important for human-centered design, for designing for humans, and for just being really good at sort of your creative process. Empathy, as I said, is understanding people's emotions. So it's understand and their feelings and sort of their situations and where they are. It's not sympathy. Sympathy is you feeling bad for someone who is in some type of situation. With empathy, you're actually trying to get their feelings and understand it. The way we do that is a couple different ways. One is we can invite them to be part of the design process, right? So if we are designing for people who are vision impaired, we might invite people with vision impairments to be part of the design process. If that's impossible, we might actually just go talk to people with in our target audience. So we might go talk to people with vision impairments, and we might ask them questions about some things that they're having trouble with when it comes to using an information technology system. Another way to build empathy is to read as much as you can and to look at sort of the historical context of the user group that you're designing for. So if you are designing for, again, people with low vision or vision impairments, you might actually have them, or you might go look up historically, what have people with vision impairments had to deal with when it came to technology? You know, what are the limitations that you clearly know, and what are limitations that you don't know? So again, empathy is this idea of we're trying to understand our end users. It really is one of the core elements to being a good designer. Sometimes that doesn't happen. People like Apple, I'll talk about Apple a lot this semester. People, designers at Apple don't often really take a user-centered approach. They most often take what's called an expert design approach, where they feel like they're the expert and they know what's going on, and they will tell people what they need. Steve Jobs famously re-quoted Henry Ford, who said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. There's a lot to that to unpack, but for the most part, if you had empathy and you asked people what they wanted back in the early 1900s, they would have said, I want to get somewhere faster. And you would have heard faster horse, and you would have said, okay, let's understand what they're trying to do. And you would backtrack it and be like, I think I can build a horseless carriage. That's what I think would happen. Last week, you guys actually designed some things in class. We were redesigning tote bags. What was really interesting is that all of you took an empathetic approach, which is what's really important. But the other thing that was really cool was that you kind of thought through those user needs and what they were trying to do with their tote bag, etc. So that's what this week is all about, this user research, because it's a structured way for us to actually get insights into user empathy, right? So if we were developing something for a VR headset and we needed to understand our end users, we would do some user research, and we might find that they get really frustrated with a strap that they put on when they put on their VR headset. That has nothing to do with the VR application you're building, but it's the strap. And so having that empathy makes you realize that, oh, okay, me as a designer, it's not just this thing on the screen, right? It's also the parts that I have to think about in order to make the best experience for them. Maybe in your app or your VR app, you would have to put some type of really cool, I guess the word I'm looking for is calibration. So it's like, hey, now that this is on, let's put on the strap a certain way, or let's set the strap to be comfortable for you before you use our tool. This is where user research comes in, because it's essentially structured empathy. We're going to do observations, we're going to do interviews, we can do surveys, we can do questionnaires, focus groups, all kinds of different ways to really get at what a user needs and understand what it is they're trying to do. Let's take a look at some videos about user research in general and go from there.